Finn Mason is a very disliked character. Not much people like her because of how she literally almost killed her best friend's mom in a riot, and then got angry at her said best friend for keeping secrets, although she's been lying to him the whole game, then getting even angrier when her best friend is trying to help her avenge her dead brother and goes as far as to threaten his life. And the moment she realizes her plan to blow up a building was going to fall on her head and end up injuring a lot of innocent people, which is literally what her best friend told her what was going to happen, she makes a last ditch effort by sacrificing her life by saving her best friend as he explodes into a neutron star. But to be honest, I kind of liked her character. I think there's just a lot of potential that could have been used, and I'm really interested to see what would have happened if she survived. So, this is What If Finn Survived? Foggy vision, muffled noises, heavy breathing. These sensations clogged across Finn Mason's mind all at once, and it felt like her eyes were being dragged down by weights. Eventually, she was able to open up her eyes to see that she was in some kind of junkyard. Finn began to feel around her environment, swing her hand through clumps of trash whilst trying to find out how she even got here in the first place. It had something to do with lightning, electricity. Was she struck by lightning? No, she was saving someone. But it was much more than that. There was a crowd. Is she saving everyone? As these memories had begun to flood into her mind, only one individual had managed to surface in her thought process. Rick Mason. Her brother. The person she has been trying to avenge ever since Simon Krieger had murdered him in cold blood and covered the evidence. That has been her only mission. Then, why is she here? She was supposed to blow up that new Roxxon building in Harlem. Did the plan fail? Finn felt as her world came to a screeching halt. She thought back to the events that led up to this moment. Everything was starting to piece together. The thought of how much she hurt Miles despite him trying to help her avenge her brother was too much to handle. Finn sat up on what she could assume was a pile of trash, and she looked around in view of the junkyard that surrounded her. Was she even in Harlem anymore? Finn then glanced down to see her hands, scorched and covered in scabs. Just moving them hurt. How is she even still alive? Is Miles alive? If not, that means the plan failed. Everything. Everything she did to avenge Rick was for nothing. Krieger won, and it's her fault. And now, Rick's and Miles' legacy are spat upon, decaying in blood. Finn let out a frustrated grunt, punching the trash beneath her as a plate of scorched programmable matter fell from her shoulder. Her armor must have protected her from that explosion. And with that thought, Finn had attempted to stand to her 2 feet again, hoping that she could move. But she could barely keep balance and stumbled down the pile of trash that she laid upon. It was clear that her body was still recovering, but this didn't prove difficult for Finn. She just kept pushing on until she could get out of that junkyard and find any location away from it. Finn trudged across Greenwick for about 10 minutes, and around that time, people began to notice her and her zombified look. But hey, what else is new in New York? With every step she took, a jolt of pain was sent through her ankle and up to her spine, but she never fumbled. Soon enough, Finn passed by a cafe window and glanced at her own reflection in what felt like the first time in forever. There were multiple open cuts and bruises across her face, and it was all covered by a busted lip and a broken nose. Some of those hits Miles delivered really did leave a number on her. Though, in the corner of Finn's eye, she noticed recent news playing on somebody's laptop, discussing the events of Roxxon's building in Harlem, and how the new Spider-Man got Simon Krieger arrested. Wait, Simon Krieger's arrested? Finn's adrenaline skyrocketed at that point, as she pushed her face so closer to the glass window to catch every second of the events that were discussed. Roxxon had seemingly cut ties with Simon Krieger and released all incriminating evidence on him. Right now, they're planning on shutting down and have no hopes in continuing Newform anytime soon. Rick! We did it! Although it pained her, Finn smiled as she took a step back from the window, feeling weight come off of her shoulders. She thought she'd never see the day that this would happen. Thank you, Miles, Finn muttered to herself, looking towards the sky. Now with Krieger gone, Finn can finally live her life, or whatever is left of it. Finn glanced down to see her ankle and small chunks of muscle and tissue missing from it. The pain from the explosion is starting to catch up on her. Maybe she could stimulate a cast by using programmable matter. There should be an underground base somewhere around this area. Since Krieger's gone, the rest of the group probably left by now. So, Finn navigated her way through alleys in search of her technology, eventually running into the entrance of what seemed to be an abandoned basement of a warehouse which donned the Underground's logo painted over the door. Finn stared at it for a moment, recalling the chaos she's brought to people due to her need for vengeance. She glanced down in guilt and moved forward into the headquarters. Upon entering the base, Finn was met with a bright violet light shining into her pupil, blinding her sight as someone tackled her to the ground. She remembers this tactic. This was something put together for Roxxon soldiers if they've ever tried breaking into an underground base while they were busy lying low. Wait, it's the Tinkerer! What are you doing? She felt whoever tackled her eased their grasp on her as they lifted their body up to reveal an underground mask over their face with Finn's programmable matter all over them. Tinkerer? The underground goon asked, backing off on her. Finn groaned in pain, glancing upwards to see the underground goon and a couple others standing behind them wearing their armor. Sheesh, we thought you died. It looks like you've been hit by a truck, an underground member spoke out from the group. Well, I'm not dead and I wasn't hit. Why are you all still here? Simon Krieger's down, and so is the underground. The underground members looked amongst themselves with a slight chuckle bellowing under their masks, turning their back on Finn. You haven't heard, have you? Underground's under new management now, they said towards her. Under new management? By who? By me! An underground brute stepped in front of all the others, holding a programmable matter sledgehammer in his hand. What? I made you that weapon! I made you your armor! You're nothing without me! The underground members chuckled at this. Then I guess we'll have to force you to keep making our weapons, the brute said, dropping his sledgehammer and dashing towards Finn with a violet trail following behind him. Finn's eyes had widened at this open betrayal as she braced herself for the incoming attack. She didn't know how to feel. Maybe this is what she deserved. Being held captive by her own team. How poetic. Finn closed her eyes, prepared to see Rick again, until the sound of a chain swung across the room echoed, and screams of multiple underground members followed after. Finn opened her eyes to see that the majority of the underground were on the floor groaning in pain. The silhouette sprinted across the room though, taking down the remainder of the group with a lethal chain sickle in their hand. The silhouette stopped and glanced at Finn, then making its way towards her, wrapping the chains of their weapon across the palm of their hand. Finn felt every urge to run, but she knew that would only make things worse. The shadowed entity would then place their weapon onto their hip holster, sticking their hand out towards the fear-stricken Finn, their identity now revealed. You'll die just standing there, kid. In Jeremiah chapter 38, the prophet Jeremiah had been tossed into a cistern after preaching the words God had given to him. The council hated Jeremiah so much that they purposefully filled the cistern with mud so that when he fell into it, he would suffocate and die. But God had different plans for him. He had a way out. Someone came and saved him from death, and Jeremiah kept on preaching after that. There have been moments in my life where I'm standing on my last leg or I'm at my wit's end, and it seems like I'll never be able to win. But God always has a way out, and he's been able to free me from storms multiple times. And in that same way, Finn was able to be saved from her storm. Bottom line, God saves. Thanks guys for watching. I hope that you all have a great day. I'm excited to start these what if ideas, so let me know what other ideas you guys have in the comments. Have a good one, and remember, trust God.